So what is the connection of the testimony to what I'm about to tell you about Noah and what was going on in Noah's time? Okay. We read part of Genesis 6, and we read about the Nephilim, the Watchers, coming down, mating with earth women, and then causing all types of mutations on the earth, including races of giants. Cannibalism went on during that time. There were all kinds of debauchery. I mean, it was lust in the first place that caused these angels to go after the earth women. It wasn't like, you know, you get this picture when you read here about it, like they're getting married or something. Yeah, they took wives. Now, if you read the book of Enoch, and that did used to be part of your Bible canon, the book of Enoch tells you what was going on. It was a bloodbath, you know. You could only grow so much food to sustain people, but when you're feeding giants, you know, they were eating humans. There was gene splicing going on. These things were mating with animals, creating all kinds of things that God had to stop it. If he didn't stop it, everything would have ended with Noah. So what he did is he lays out a blueprint for Noah and the ark. He tells him what materials, he tells him the dimensions, he tells him how many rooms, windows, doors, you know, and God just gives him the entire blueprint. And so we don't, with Noah, we know that there's a lot of sin going on, but Noah, he does the instructions that the Lord gives him, and he builds the ark. And so anyway, most people know the rest of the story of Noah, that for 40 days he's out there in the ark, him and his family, and that the waters covered the whole earth. Well, those waters killed the bodies of the offspring of the giants, but their spirits were still alive. And those spirits became disembodied. They didn't have a body no more. Disembodied. Okay? And they still have the same lusts. They still have the same addictions. They still got the same issues that they had when they had bodies. Okay? I want you to think about that for a minute. Think about addiction. Okay? These things have the addictions. These things are lusting after flesh and wanting to experience things in a human body. But that body was taken from them. So they're disembodied spirits. So what does a disembodied spirit do when he does not have a body? I'm going to make this term up. I know it's used by the New Age for a whole different purpose, but if they knew the reality of it, it's probably pretty much the same. Walk-ins. They walk into a body, okay? A disembodied spirit goes looking for a host body. When Jesus cast out the demons out of a man, okay, where do you think those spirits came from? They came from the spirit of the Nephilim. Okay? And then, I think we started reading the book of Jude. Did we start reading the book of Jude? There was something else in there. There's a reference made to them in the book of Jude where that the Nephilim would be held in everlasting chains of darkness until the day of judgment. So the ones that came down and caused this problem, they're in everlasting chains of darkness. And I told you that Enoch tried to present this before the Lord, and the Lord just overruled. Took it to his courts, and he said, no, you're done. They knew what they were doing. Okay, nobody, no, nobody forced them this time. Okay, these guys, they knew what they were doing, so they're in everlasting chains of darkness. But their offspring and their disembodied spirits look for an inhabitant. They still got those addictions. They still do. So what they do is they look for a host body that is willing to take them on. You know, you could have two people commit a sin and one person becomes an addict and the other one doesn't. You ever wonder about that? I met a person once that went to an Indian casino and played on a machine once, and she was never a gambler. She never even played those machines, never even interested in it. And she won several thousand that night. So this person then started making regular trips up there, okay, every weekend. And then she starts calling in at work, and she's going and spending her day at the casino. Next thing you know, she wiped out her 401k at the casino, and she was never winning any of that money back. And it just caused her to even more keep pumping more in and more in and more in, because she wanted to get back all her losses. But she became addicted, and I don't know if she's still addicted to this day. I hope not. But that's a spirit that attaches. It could be shopping, okay? And shopping isn't necessarily a sin. We have to go to the store and buy things. But then when it starts becoming an obsession, and you can't go from point A to point B without stopping off here because they might have a sale, and you don't even have anything in mind what you're going to buy. That's an addiction. Okay? That's an addiction. Hoarding is an addiction. Think about that. Hoarding is an addiction. Okay? What you think? Other addictions, you know? I believe they say you cannot physically be addicted to smoking weed, but it's a mental addiction. It's still an addiction. Okay? Drinking. Talk about an addiction. You know? Drinking is an addiction. I understand smoking cigarettes as an addiction. Okay? These addictions come from somewhere. Did you just sit there one day and decide that you were going to be addicted to something? No, you didn't. You never did. And if you're listening to this video for the first time, the video before this is the testimony to this video. And just look at the numbering. It's the number before the number on this video, where I give the testimony of how I'm coming to this conclusion. So addiction is addiction. No matter what kind of addiction it is, it was somebody's addiction before yours. But when you engaged in that act or that sin, pornography, okay, there's another one. When you engaged in that act, especially being a Christian, because Satan already knows he's got everybody else. But if you're a Christian and you engage in something that is a sin, what you did is just like the Dracula movies. You gave him permission, just like in the Dracula movies. He had to have permission to come in. Where do you think they got that idea from? They didn't scrape that off the bottom of their shoe. Okay? And if you have an addiction, you can get rid of that addiction. But when you got it, you opened a door. And it was because you opened a door that this thing, who was looking for something to inhabit, attached itself to you. Now, am I calling you demon possessed? There is a difference between demon possession and that's a walk-in. It comes in and takes you over. There are also strongholds on people that are spirits. You know, there's a Jezebel spirit. There's Leviathan spirit. You know, there's different spirits that attach to people that take a full-on deliverance to get rid of. And these are not easy spirits to get rid of. Then there's the full-on demon possession spirit. Their head might not spin around in circles like the Exorcist and But they throw up. They really do throw up. And you can see it in their eyes. This is another form of possession. What I'm talking about here is not those two things. What I'm saying is that you allowed something to dig its claws into you, and it's not going to let you go on its own. Just like when I quit smoking the first time, I didn't ask the Lord to take it from me. I wasn't even focused on God at that point, okay, at all. Not that I purposely wasn't. That wasn't where my mind was at. Spiritually, I was not walking. I had some idolatry in my life. And when I quit, I did it. I didn't even want to do it, but when I did it, what happened is that thing that was attached to me was beating the crap out of me. If you don't think that can happen, I'm here to tell you it does happen. And those things that attach to you, if you've been a good host, and I was a terrific smoking host, let me tell you, I was a wonderful host for 30 years, okay? If you're a really good host for this thing, you're going to find it's harder for you to break it because you've been such a good host. That thing or things, it could be plural, are attached to you. These were Elohim. These are I'm sorry, they're not Elohim. These are the offspring of Elohim mixed with humans, okay? And these are the demons that are addicted to everything. They attach, and they don't want you giving it up because they cannot get that fix through you. It's their fix. It's their addiction, not yours. It's theirs. That's why you are casting this stupid thing off of you in Jesus' name, and you're repenting to the Father in seriousness and asking Him to help you get rid of this, okay? Because you know you can't do it on your own. And so that is where the demons come from, disembodied spirits. They come from Genesis 6, from what happened during the time of Noah. And these things will not leave you on their own until you grab the bull by the horns. Okay? And if you're not going through the Lord to quit, and then those withdrawals that you get, that you're thinking are all you, it's that thing attached to you. That it's just wreaking havoc in you to get you to do it. It needs that fix. Because that thing that's attached to you knows that if you indulge again, it's got you. Okay? It gets a fix again. Its wonderful host is return home like the prodigal son. And I'm telling you, this is a very spiritual world. This is a very serious thing. Addictions are sin. It's idolatry. Mine was idolatry. I didn't realize my smoking was idolatry between me and the Lord. And if you have idolatry in your life, it's going to keep you separated. You're never going to move to the next level. And so these are things that God wants out of your life. And you certainly don't want demons attached to you. Now, there are people that will tell you, you cannot become demon-possessed as a Christian. I don't think you can. Not if you're living as a Christian. And there's people that claim to be Christian that aren't living as Christians. They're wide open. Okay, but I'm not talking about demon possession, which can happen. But what I'm talking about is these things that stick their hooks in you and live their own addiction through you as a host body. Now that's a pretty sickening thought. And these were the thoughts that I had also when I took that cigarette and I dropped it on the ground, mashed it, had said the stuff I said, and then did that. That's what I was realizing at the moment, that it wasn't me with the addiction, it was the thing that was attached to me, and I had to break that bond. I opened that door years ago, just like anybody else with addiction. They open that door on their own, and then these things latch on. And let me tell you, You know, they latch on to non-Christians too. They're looking for a good host. But really, I don't know if they get brownie points from Satan or what it is, but Christians get these addictions. And it almost seems like it hits them harder than it does a worldly person, you know? Because this is a person that was here, and now they're here. And they've been pulled down. They have a stronghold now. And so I just wanted you, to understand that this is where the demons come from. And this is the connection that I'm making to Noah's Ark, is that is how we got disembodied spirits. And it also says that after the flood, that it happened again. Not the flooding or the disembodied spirits, but there were more giants created, as I said before. So with that, let's go, and we're going to read just a little bit further to complete the thought in Genesis 6. Okay, verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast. Got to understand, there was corruption more than just the human flesh being even more corrupted. These things were raping animals, all kinds of stuff. And that is where they were getting the weird mutations, where you see sometimes in Greek mythology, there is the horse with the man's head. Some of this stuff, they didn't just make this stuff up. This stuff came from somewhere. Some of it came from the heavens. They were the watchers. Some of them had very peculiar forms, I'm sure. But when they came down to the women, they must have been good looking. They couldn't have looked like Satan. I mean, how he is depicted with horns. They were beautiful, and they came down and they took themselves earth women. Verse 7, and the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air. They were corrupting everything. For it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. Okay, I want to say here real quick, it says Noah was perfect in his generations. Now, people that do not believe the things that I'm teaching you, they will try to tell you that it just means that Noah was, perfect with God. Okay? No. Perfect in his generations means that his seed, that it came from the line of Seth. It was not tampered with, okay? And he had not been mixing with these watchers, okay? This is talking about his bloodline here, okay? Perfect in his generations. Remember, I told you Bible's full of genealogy. It's all for a reason. It's showing 2 seed lines, okay? Now, I know that there's people that will tell you today that those seed lines have intermingled, and that is true. They have. Why do you think they want humanity mixed all up? Okay? And another thing is, they do try, certain ones try to keep their seed line, and they intermarry and everything else just to keep it. But I'll get into that another time. But Noah was perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God. Okay, and then in Jasher, it tells his ministry of like 130 years of preaching with Methuselah, which you don't get that here in the Bible. But Noah was out there preaching. He was preaching to the people. He wasn't just hidden back with his family trying to avoid things. He was out there trying to do the will of God. And it was to no avail. There was so much wickedness going on. Verse 10, and Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. There you have it. All the stuff that the book of Enoch talks about. Violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. Okay, there we go. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. And then he gets into explaining about making an ark with gopher wood, giving him the dimensions, telling him every way to build this ark, because he's about to preserve 8 people and a whole lot of animals. And they were not all 2 by 2. Some of them were in other groupings. Some were 2 by 2, but not all the animals of the ark like you were taught in Sunday school. There were more animals than just 2 of each kind. Okay, so before I close on this and we move on, I do want to tell you, if you do have an addiction, you don't need to sit in AA for the rest of your life, okay? You don't need to keep beating your head against the wall, because every time you try to quit whatever addiction this is, it keeps coming back to haunt you, and you keep finding yourself locked in the same sin. It could be any sin. It really doesn't matter. Sin is sin, and sin is what causes addiction. You would not have that addiction had you not sinned first. Okay? It's a door. It's a doorway. That's why you don't do drugs. Drugs is a gateway. Oh my gosh, that invites a plethora of these disembodied spirits. If you're doing something that's mind altering, you're just opening the floodgates there. But if you're doing, and also if it's just something like shopping or gambling, or it could be lying can be an addiction, stealing can be an addiction. We know that, kleptomaniacs. It's a spirit. And you can get rid of it. You don't have to keep it. And between you and God, you can make your declaration. But first you need to rebuke that thing in your life and do something right then and there to take a stand against it. Call it your enemy. You know, tell it, you're going to go. I want you out of my life. You have no more place here. You're done. My business with you is over. And then you go to God the Father and you say, Father, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Take this idolatry out of my life. And the only way I can do it is with your help. And I'm asking you this in Jesus' name, because it's really the power is in the name. Okay? And I just want you to know that you don't have to keep living with these addictions. Do something about it. You know? You may think that you're the only person that's hurting, you know, but marriages get broken up because of this stuff. You know? You are affecting other people. And even if it's one of those things, like I deceived myself that smoking only affected me. You know what it was doing? It was affecting me spiritually. Because this was an idol in my life between me and God. I mean, God was still a part of my life throughout my life and did many things. And I never felt that the Lord told me, okay, you're going to quit smoking. Okay? But when that day came, He took it from me. I didn't even think, trust me, I got up that morning, I didn't think I was quitting smoking that day. I didn't even think I was quitting. You know? I just made such a crazy embarrassment of a prayer a week before that. But He answered it. And He answered it His way and not in the way that I wanted Him to answer it. He could do the same thing for you. You don't have to carry that addiction. Whatever it is, lay it at the feet of Jesus. You know? I'm telling you, you don't have to live with it. And it can be taken instant. You don't have to ever, ever, ever keep going back to that state of, beating yourself up because you messed up again, you messed up again, you messed up again. Likewise, after you do this declaration, after you go before the Lord and you ask Him to take it, do not tempt yourself with it either. Don't go, oh, well, I'm just gonna test it and see if I still got a problem. I'm telling you, don't you dare go there. But if you're serious about it, He'll take it from you. Okay? You don't have to go see a priest. You don't have to go see some clergyman somewhere. You don't have to have a group of people there. It's you and God. That's really what it's about. It's your relationship with Him. This is the thing that you are asking Him for to enhance your relationship with Him. And if you're a child of God, why on earth wouldn't He give that to you? It's within His will. It's exactly within His will. So you need to do it. Just get rid of it. Quit doing that. Quit wallowing in it. I'm telling you right now, it's garbage. Your life could be so much better enhanced if you could just lay it down. And so, with that, I'm just telling you, if you're having a problem with something, and you're serious about it, you can send me an email to pray with you or to pray for you. But I'm telling you, you can just go to God yourself and do this thing. This isn't the only prayer that God ever answered me very speedily. I have so many testimonies throughout my life, but this is one that's very near and dear to me, because I never thought I would sit here as a non-smoker after smoking 30 years of my life away. So I'm just telling you right now, you can lay that thing down between you and Him. And so anyway, I just say that I'm just going to tell you, God bless you. I pray that if you have an addiction, you go before Him. And before we go into our next segment, I'm just going to tell you, be blessed.